Marvin Vettori versus Robert Whittaker gets announced on the heels of Pior versus Sean Strickland. Now, if you're a middleweight fan, those are some very compelling matchups, and if you were to look a little bit closer, meaning what do I get if I win? Are they contenders fights? You'd probably have a hard time convincing me that Vettori versus Whittaker is just yet. You probably are going to make that fight for one of them to stand their ground and the whole audience to take a look, and Robert Whittaker can prove that he's bouncing back and all these positive terms, but it is very relevant. How quickly Robert Whittaker was going to get back on the horse is something that I've been interested in. Robert Whittaker did his most talking after he was done fighting Israel Adesanya, but he went to the press conference, he was not happy about it, and he swore to everybody that he was going to get right back in there quickly, and he didn't care who it was against. Then he even went to social media and teased the whole world that he could be going down to 170 pounds. And as simple as this all may sound, it's more than Robert Whittaker's ever done. And we've seen a lot of people right after a fight go and say crazy things. And I'm going to define crazy as things that they don't mean, make promises that they never keep, say things that 2 and 3 and 4 days later, it turned out they're feeling a little bit different. We see that in the heat of the moment, on the microphone, or the post-fight press conference in this case, doesn't ever come to fruition. So the fact that Robert Whittaker is turning around, this is pretty quick. I mean, this is going to be the middle of June, but in all fairness, he's going to be starting training camp tomorrow. It's a quick turnaround for Whittaker against a very game opponent, so we know that he's got some motivation. That's great. Number one thing you can take away from that is what I just stated. Now, take a look at Pior versus Sean Strickland. This is matchmaking at its finest. If there's certain ingredients that you want in a story, Pior has them. The only issue is going to be, how are you and who is going to go out and tell that story? Most of you would not know what an Alex Pior was if he was standing right in front of you, but in all fairness, the champion of the world, Israel Adesanya, does. Nobody speaks more about Pior than Israel Adesanya. Apparently, they had crossed paths back in the world of professional kickboxing days, and Pior won. The end. I can't take anything more of it than that, but that eats away at Adesanya, and that's something I can relate to. When you have one of these matches that keeps you up at night because you didn't have the outcome that you wanted, you just assume the whole world knows. You assume the whole world knows all about it. You assume the whole world saw it. You assume that the whole world wants to see it again. But whether that assumption is right or wrong, nobody steers their own career in the entire sport of MMA. Not right now. Nobody does a better job than Adesanya. If you want to fight on Adesanya, before you take it to the people, before you take it to your opponent, take it to Adesanya. He steers his own career, and that's very relevant because Adesanya is helping Pior. Then you've got Sean Strickland. Now, this guy's a lightning rod. Sean wants you to all think that he's crazy Sean Strickland. Who knows what I'm going to do and say next? But he's also on a 7-fight win streak. Guys, I could have that wrong, and he's won 8 in a row. Sean Strickland has not lost in a period of time. Sean Strickland has never lost at 185 pounds. Sean Strickland, in my opinion, is the clear number one contender, but he's not getting the shot. Sean Strickland's last loss was at 170 pounds to the current GOAT, Kamaru Usman. Everything on paper about Sean is beautiful. Now you just got time to come around. Whoever the champion this is, in this case it's Adesanya, you can only fight one guy at a time. And apparently he's going to be fighting Jared Cannonier. Now, as I digress and I break down the fights that are made for you guys, you might be looking forward to it. You might be thinking this one's for a title shot. I feel as though you would have missed the message. In everything that I just said, the entire message is glaringly clear, which is, where's Paulo Costa? If the last 4 minutes of your life, you heard everything that I had to say, and you're not asking yourself, where is Paulo Costa? Now, I have a good relationship with Paulo Costa, but I stay out of his business. I never call him and ball. I never text him, hey, what's going on? I have my own opinions on Paulo Costa. First off, he's awesome. He's not just good. He's not just a great fight. He's more than that. He is something special. And above everything, I want to see him at light heavyweight. I'm all alone. It does not matter how much I want that or how much I come to you guys and then you support me in the comments or you go onto social media. He is not going to 205 pounds, according to him. His own manager has spoke up about that. His own coach, when I talked to him, Captain E, they all know 185 pounds. I will never get my way on that, but I feel that I'm owed, as a fan, I feel that I'm owed an explanation. Why 185 pounds? Is this purely about getting back in there with Israel Adesanya? I'll accept it if that's the answer. I don't have to like the answer. That's not what I'm talking to you guys about. I'm saying I'm owed an answer. Is this all about 185 pounds? This is a path I'm on. This is a childhood dream, and this is where I dreamed about. I'll listen. I've just never been told that. Now, when I come out and I make a case for you guys about the parity and how quickly a blueprint could at least fictionally be put into place and fabricated to get him, Paulo Costa, to a world title fight at 205 pounds, it's pretty quick. It's pretty damn compelling. When I come and I plead with you guys, I know this guy and I've stood, but just as a way of telling you how big he is, I know he looks like a monster on television, but some guy, this is a big guy. In addition to that, his last fight was 205 pounds. He agreed, if you'll recall, 2 days before the fight to change the weight class from 185 to 195. He's taking on Marvin Vettori. He then agreed 24 hours before the weigh-in to move from 195 to 205 pounds. My case that I'm attempting to make that Paulo Costa is a big guy, I've got evidence, and there it is. 205 pounds is where I'd be very interested. Now, this is his career and his life, and he gets to do what he wants. We all just sit back and just be reactors. Fine. I'm reacting to it. This is my reaction. My reaction is 2 mega fights at 185 pounds just got made. I would believe by looking at the players that were removed from the board, not put on the board, they were just taken off. I would use that to surmise that Jaron Cannonier is in fact getting the title shot, and that Paulo Costa is in fact lined up with nobody, and I'm wondering why. It's my bigger takeaway. If he wants to go to 185 pounds, go ahead. He could raise his hand right now. He's got a contract. I'm at 185 pounds. If you're going to go do that at 185 pounds, against who? Because I just told you who it's not going to be with. I just named all of the meaningful competitors at that weight class, and there's 2 categories. Don't forget that. Don't let anybody convince you there's a top 10 list. First off, they don't go to 10. Apparently, they go to 15. I have no idea whose idea that was, but even that, there's not a top 10 list. Top 5. If you are not in the top, you're in a separate category if you're in the top 5. At any point, number 4, number 5, number 2, number 1 can go in and fight for a world title fight. Number 6, number 7, number 8, number 9, number 10 cannot. And history will prove that I'm right. But if you're anywhere in that top 5, you're in that conversation. Now you get the politics and the geography of it. Where's this fight going to be? And of course, the date matters. And of course, have you already matched up with the guy? There's a lot of things that you talk to. There's 2 categories. You got top 10, top 5. And the reason I bring that to you is where's Paulo going to go? If he stayed at 185 pounds, against who? Is Paulo Costa not the hammer that I think he is? Is he not the competitor that I think he is? Is he not the contender that we've all seen? And all of a sudden, he's taking on a number 12, a number 14. That sounds irresponsible to me. I'm light on the idea. Or is Paulo Costa, behind the scenes, agreed with us and thinks he should go up to 205 pounds? We won't know the answers. The guy is very mythical. We don't know anything ahead of time with Paulo Costa, but there is hope and there is a chance based on what we just said. I think that you've really got 2 schools of thought. First off, there's probably nothing to see here. In all fairness, Paulo Costa is likely 185 pounder and he just hasn't raised his hand. X, Y, and Z is still bothering. Something's always getting to the guy. And he's just not ready to go in yet. Okay, fine. The simplest answer is usually and that's probably exactly what it is, but there's still a chance that that isn't the case, and that he's making a move to 205 pounds and he's just buying himself some time. But when I do look at these middleweight matches that are being made, I don't think about the matches that are to come. I don't think the guys that are about to fight. I look at who's not.